Rain hammered the rusted gates of Cold Hollow Prison, lightning splitting the sky like fractured glass. Officer Ethan Ward pulled his coat tighter, but the wind seemed to reach through the fabric, gnawing at his bones. His K-9 Axel, a massive German shepherd formatted by the storm, whimpered low in the shadows, nose pressed to the wet earth. Something was buried beneath the mud, something that made Axel growl with a fear Ward had never seen before. As the dog's howl cut through the thunder, Ward felt it, an unease that clawed deeper than any storm, a secret waiting to claw its way out. If you enjoy these intense, dark mysteries, consider liking and subscribing. It helps us bring more stories like this to life. The storm had been relentless for hours, drumming against the corrugated metal roofs of Cold Hollow Prison like a war drum. Officer Ethan Ward stood at the main gate, eyes narrowing through the downpour. The prison sat on the edge of Blackwood Ridge, isolated and forgotten by the world, its rusted fences blending into the dark, heaving forest behind it. The wind carried whispers, the kind that made hair stand on the back of your neck, and Ward's gut told him that tonight something was very wrong. Axel, his K-9 partner, pressed close to his side. The dog's ears twitched with every crack of lightning, tail stiff, hackles raised. He had been working with Axel for over 5 years, and he had never heard him whine like this, not even during riots or escapes. Axel's paw scratched the wet ground, and a guttural growl rumbled deep in his chest. Ward followed the dog's gaze toward the muddy perimeter beyond the gate, but all he could see was black water pooling between the barbed wires. "Relax, boy," Ward muttered, though his own voice lacked conviction. "It's just a storm." Axel whined again, then bolted a few steps ahead, nose to the ground. Ward cursed under his breath and chased after him. Lightning illuminated the forest edge, revealing a hollow in the soil near the guard tower. Axel barked, snapping at the mud as if he could smell something buried beneath it. Ward's stomach tightened. The hollow was too precise, too deliberate to be natural. He pulled on his gloves and knelt beside the mud. His fingers traced the indentation. It smelled faintly metallic, like iron in decay. He shivered, not from the cold, but from the recognition that this was no ordinary hole. Axel barked again, frantic now, circling the hollow with tense precision. "Damn it, Axel. What did you find?" Ward whispered, leaning closer to the mud. A faint, coppery scent lingered in the stormy air, and Ward's stomach churned. He glanced back at the prison gates. The guard should have been patrolling, but the night was eerily silent. Only the storm answered him, drumming a steady rhythm that seemed to echo from the forest itself. Ward took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. "All right, let's see what's down there." He fetched a flashlight from his belt and aimed it at the hollow. The beam bounced across wet roots and mud, revealing a piece of fabric half buried in the dirt. It was rough, prison-issue gray, streaked with blood. Ward swallowed hard, mind racing. Whoever, or whatever, was down there had been deliberately hidden. Footsteps crunched behind him. He spun, flashlight swinging, and saw Sergeant Tom Raines approaching, face pale, eyes darting between Ward and the hollow. "Ward," Raines said, voice tight. "What the hell are you doing out here?" Ward nodded toward the hollow. "Axel found this. Someone or something was buried here. I think we need to call this in." Raines's jaw tightened. "You're not thinking straight in this weather. Get back inside." Ward's gut rebelled. "Raines, there's blood. This isn't just some animal." Raines's eyes flickered, and for a brief moment, something unreadable passed across his face. Then he forced a tight-lipped smile. "It's nothing you need to worry about. Let's not create hysteria. Coal Hollow has rules. You know that." Axel growled, low and threatening, ears pinned back. He nosed toward the hollow, unwilling to leave. Ward felt a surge of frustration. Raines's calm demeanor didn't match the dread curling in Ward's chest. He had learned long ago that calm in a man, like Raines, often meant he was hiding something. "All right," Ward said, forcing calm. "We'll dig, just to be sure. You want to help, or should I do it alone?" Raines hesitated, then finally nodded. "Fine," but quietly. They worked in tense silence, the storm hammering at their shoulders. Lightning illuminated their labor in jagged bursts, revealing the slick mud clinging to their boots. The hollow was deeper than Ward had expected, a small pit carved with deliberate hands. Axel barked again, scratching at the side of the pit. For standing on end, Ward's fingers hit something solid. He paused, heart hammering, and brushed away the mud. His flashlight revealed a crude wooden box, reinforced with iron bands, its surface darkened with rot and blood. He swallowed, forcing his fingers around the latch. "Rains, it's a box." Rains knelt beside him, his expression unreadable. "Let's open it slowly." Ward lifted the lid, revealing its contents. A wave of nausea hit him. Inside lay a bundle of torn clothes and a human hand. The skin was pale, fingers curled, nails broken. A chain, rusted, splintered, still looped around the wrist. Axel barked again, a sharp, piercing cry that cut through the storm. Ward blinked, trying to suppress the rising panic. "Holy Christ," Rains muttered, voice tight. Ward looked at him, searching for any hint of emotion, but Rains's face was a mask. His eyes flickered, just briefly, toward the prison. Then he forced a casual shrug. "We need to call this in. Let's not touch it any further." Ward hesitated, heart racing. Something about Rains's reaction was wrong. Too controlled, too rehearsed, but he couldn't put a finger on it. They moved the box carefully, Axel pacing, whining, refusing to leave the site. Ward called the dispatcher, voice steady despite the shaking in his hands. "We've found human remains. Need backup and the coroner. Cold Hollow Gate perimeter, now." Minutes stretched, each one punctuated by the storm and Axel's frantic barking. When the coroner and additional guards arrived, Ward stepped back, watching them approach. The box was lifted carefully, gloved hands shielding its contents from the rain. "Who found this?" one of the guards asked. Ward stepped forward. "Axel did. My partner." The K-9 growled, scanning the arriving officers, sensing unease, sensing lies. Later, under the dim glow of the prison lights, Ward sat in the small guardroom, drying his gloves. He couldn't shake the image of the hand, the chain, or Rains's strange calm. His phone buzzed with a notification from the prison's internal security feed. All gates secure. But Ward knew that whatever had been buried beneath the storm had not been buried by chance. And in the storm's distant rumble, he thought he heard a whisper, an almost human moan. Carried on the wind, Ward tightened his coat around his shoulders and looked down at Axel, who stared back with wide, unblinking eyes. "You smell that, boy? Someone wants this secret kept." Axel's growl rumbled low in his throat, a warning that the night was far from over. And somewhere beyond the fence and the forest, in the dark soil of Cold Hollow Prison, something or someone waited. The storm had eased into a relentless drizzle by dawn, leaving the prison drenched and silent, as if it were holding its breath. The muddy hollow had been cordoned off, the box taken by the coroner, and yet the unease lingered, thick as the mist curling around the guard towers. Ethan Ward sat in the small security office, Axel at his feet, ears twitching with every distant footstep. Ward stared at the monitor, watching the prison yard empty but for a lone figure, Sergeant Tom Rains, who moved with a deliberate, almost ritualistic pace. There was something off about him. Ward couldn't deny it. Something about the way he lingered near certain cells, peering down the corridors as if searching for someone or something. Axel whined softly, lifting his head, nose twitching. Ward followed the dog's gaze and froze. Through the fog windows, he saw a faint glint in the mud near the perimeter. It was gone the next instant, swallowed by the gray haze. Axel growled low, his body taut. "Relax, boy. Probably just debris," Ward muttered, though his voice betrayed his doubt. But deep down, he knew Axel's instincts had never been wrong. The prison was a maze of old stone, rusted gates, and peeling paint. Cold Hollow had been built decades ago, a forgotten relic. And over the years, whispers of corruption and brutality had seeped into every corner. Ward had served here for 5 years, and every shadow felt familiar. Except now, everything seemed different, like the prison itself was alive, watching, waiting. Rains appeared at the doorway, drenched from a morning mist. "Ward," he said, his tone neutral, "you're staring too hard at empty yards. Come with me. I want to show you something." Ward followed reluctantly, Axel padding close. They navigated the narrow stone corridors to the oldest wing of the prison, a section abandoned decades ago after a series of riots and unexplained incidents. The hallway smelled of damp stone, rot, and a faint metallic tang. Rain stopped in front of a heavy steel door, its paint flaking. He pressed a keycard, and the lock clicked. Inside was darkness, thick and suffocating. Ward switched on his flashlight. The beam revealed an old storage room, shelves lined with rusted tools, chains, and empty boxes. The smell of decay was stronger here. Nothing much, Rain said, though his eyes lingered on a particular corner. Just old prison junk. Ward squinted. Among the rusted tools, he noticed something odd. A stack of papers, yellow with age, tied with fraying string. Curious, he picked them up. The pages were prison records, but some were heavily redacted, others written in a strange, hurried scrawl. Names, dates, odd references to containment procedures, and unregistered cells. Unregistered cells? Ward asked, raising an eyebrow. Rains's jaw tightened. Old rumors. People tend to exaggerate when the prison's been around as long as Cold Hollow. Best not to dig too deep. Ward felt a flicker of suspicion. Rains's calm seemed too polished, too controlled. Axel growled again, stepping forward, hackles raised. Ward turned, catching the dog staring at a patch of the wall. The stone seemed oddly textured, not like the rest of the corridor. Ward ran his hand over it, cold, slightly uneven, as if it had been tampered with. Rains, this wall. It feels... Ward's words trailed off as a realization hit. Rains's expression shifted, just slightly, a twitch in the corner of his eye. Careful, Ward. Some things are better left alone. But Ward's curiosity overpowered caution. He found a loose panel and pried it open. Behind was a narrow passage, descending steeply into darkness. The air was damp cold and carried a faint metallic stench. Axel growled, unwilling to enter, but Ward stepped forward, flashlight cutting through the gloom. The passage led to a hidden chamber, carved into the bedrock beneath the prison. Rusted chains hung from the ceiling, and shallow pits in the floor were filled with waterlogged debris. Ward's heart pounded as he scanned the room. His flashlight caught a flash of movement, something buried beneath a thin layer of mud and grime. He knelt, brushing the dirt aside, revealing a small, bloody bundle. His stomach clenched. Axel whined, pawing at the floor. Ward opened the bundle carefully. It was another human hand, smaller this time, delicate, like it belonged to a young woman. Ward swallowed hard, suppressing a gag. The chamber smelled of iron, decay, and fear. And then he noticed the inscriptions on the wall, names, dates, and symbols, etched in haste, some smear with dried blood. This, what the hell is this? Ward whispered. Rains's voice echoed behind him, low and steady. Evidence. Left for those who know to find it. Ward turned sharply. What do you mean? Rain stepped closer, face shadowed. Not everyone in this prison follows the rules, Ward. Some make arrangements. Some pay for protection. Some disappear. Ward felt a chill. Disappear? You mean... Rains nodded slightly. Some inmates are difficult, problematic. There are ways to handle that. Ways the outside world should never know about. Axel growled, pacing, sensing the tension between them. Ward's stomach knotted. He had long suspected corruption, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. You've been covering this up, Ward said, voice low. All this time. Rains looked away, gaze fixed on the wet floor. I do what I have to, Ethan. For the order, for the control, you wouldn't understand. Ward's hand shook. I understand perfectly. You're burying people alive. You're hiding murder beneath the prison. Rains's face hardened. I'm not proud of it, but someone has to keep the balance. If the law can't handle them, we do. The room was silent, except for Axel's low growl. Ward felt a wave of betrayal, rage, and fear. He had trusted Rains, respected him as a colleague, and now he didn't know who the man was anymore. Lightning flashed through a small vent above, illuminating a trapdoor partially hidden in the corner. Ward approached cautiously, hand trembling. He pushed it open, revealing a ladder descending further, into darkness, so thick it seemed alive. A faint sound reached his ears, a soft, rhythmic thumping, like a heartbeat. Ward's breath caught. Someone's down there. Raines's hand gripped his shoulder, firm and unyielding. It's not just someone. It's part of the system, Ethan, and if you go down there, you might not come back. But Ward's instincts wouldn't let him turn away. Axel barked, straining toward the ladder. Ward swallowed, heart hammering, and descended. The air grew colder, heavier, tinged with a metallic stench of blood. The walls were slick with moisture, and the sound of dripping water echoed like distant gunfire. At the bottom, the chamber opened into a vast underground network, carved roughly into the stone. Torches flickered, casting shadows that danced like specters along the walls. There were cages, chains, and makeshift cells, evidence of long-term confinement. And in the far corner, illuminated by the weak torchlight, were figures, barely conscious, pale, and trembling. Prisoners, missing inmates. Some had been reported as transferred or escaped. Ward felt bile rise in his throat. Axel growled, low and warning, refusing to move closer. Ward's flashlight swept over faces. Some pressed the bars, eyes wide with terror and recognition. Why are you showing me this? Ward asked, voice barely above a whisper. Raines's expression was unreadable. Because you're the only one I trust to know, to keep the secret safe. And maybe because I hope you make a choice I can't. Ward stared at him, torn between duty and morality. The man he had trusted was the architect of horrors he couldn't have imagined. And yet, there was fear in Raines's eyes, a flicker of vulnerability hidden beneath the control. Axel whined, nudging Ward's hand. Ward's decision crystallized in that instant. He had to do something. But leaving now would put them all in danger. Somewhere, deep in a labyrinth, a soft, human cry echoed. Ward knew the night was far from over, and as the rain continued above ground, hammering against Cold Hollow, he realized the storm had only just begun. The underground chamber smelled of iron, damp stone, and despair. Ward's flashlight trembled in his hand, illuminating rows of cages where the missing prisoners huddled, silent, gaunt, and broken. Axel's growl vibrated through the cold air, a low warning that made Ward's skin crawl. Each face reflected a story of fear, betrayal, and suffering. Ward's heart pounded. He had never imagined that Cold Hollow prison held such darkness beneath its already grim walls. His gaze met the eyes of a young woman, her face streaked with dirt and tears. She looked at him with a quiet, desperate plea that cut straight to his core. Axel whined and stepped closer to Ward, pressing against his leg, as if urging him to act. Raines stood behind him, arms crossed, a shadow against the torchlight. They belong here, he said softly, almost to himself. For the balance, for control. Ward's stomach twisted. You're insane. These are human beings. Raines's lips tightened. Maybe, but in this prison, sometimes humanity isn't enough. Ward clenched his fists. The choice was clear. He could follow orders, obey the corrupt system that Raines upheld. Or he could take a stand, whatever the cost. Axel's growl intensified. Ward's instinct screamed that time was running out. Then he heard it. Footsteps, faint but deliberate, echoing from above. Someone was coming, guards, or worse, another layer of conspiracy. Ward's eyes darted toward the ladder, the only exit, and he realized the prisoners couldn't climb themselves. He had to act fast. Listen to me, Ward shouted, forcing the prisoners to look at him. Stay calm. Follow me quietly. Don't make a sound. Some whispered, eyes wide with fear. Others hesitated. Suspicion etched on their gaunt faces. Axel barked sharply, herding them toward the ladder with surprising gentleness. Ward covered his mouth as a young man stumbled, nearly crying out. Axel nudged him forward, and the prisoners began to ascend one by one. Raines's voice cut through the chaos. Ethan, stop. You don't understand what you're doing. Ward spun. I understand perfectly. You've been hiding murder beneath this prison, and I won't let it continue. Raines's expression hardened. Do you think you can just walk out? Do you think anyone will believe you? I control this place. Maybe you do, Ward shot back, his voice low and deadly, but not anymore. The first prisoners reached the surface. Rain washed over them, cold and cleansing. The storm now a relentless force, as if echoing Ward's rising fury. Axel barked, alert, warning them of approaching footsteps. Ward turned to see Rains moving quickly, reaching for a hidden pistol at his belt. Ward's eyes widened. Rains, don't. But Rains was already aiming, eyes wild, almost pleading. The gun misfired in the rain, the sound echoing like a crack of thunder. Ward lunged, shoving Rains to the ground, and Axel sprang, teeth bared, forcing Rains back. The man scrambled, his moral control cracking under the pressure. You could have trusted me. Rains shouted. I did what was necessary. You murdered people. Ward yelled. You betrayed everyone who trusted you. Rains froze, rain soaking his face, and for a fraction of a second, he looked like the man Ward had once respected. Then he snapped again, desperate, unhinged. But the storm offered cover. Ward grabbed the last prisoners, pushing them toward the prison fence, and they ran into the forest beyond, disappearing into the mist. Axel barked, circling Rains, keeping him pinned. Ward's flashlight caught the old records, the symbols etched into the chamber walls, now slick with rainwater dripping from a ladder. Ward realized this had been happening for decades, each disappearance carefully hidden, the system self-perpetuating. Rains collapsed to his knees, exhausted, defeated. You don't understand, the chaos outside would consume them, he whispered. Ward stared at him, chest heaving. You've already consumed them. The sirens of backup units finally pierced the storm, lights cutting through the mist. Ward signaled Axel, who stayed alert, tail stiff. The authorities arrived to secure the prisoners and apprehend Rains. The man's facade cracked entirely as he was taken into custody, muttering fragments of justification and fear. Ward stayed behind, staring at the underground chamber, at the rusted chains and empty cages. He thought of every life lost, every secret hidden beneath Cold Hollow, and the weight pressed down like the storm itself. Axel nudged his hand, a grounding touch in the chaos. Hours later, the storm had abated, leaving a grim calm. The rescued prisoners huddled in blankets under the emergency lights, some weeping quietly, others too shocked to speak. Ward walked among them, offering small words of reassurance. They clung to life now, but the trauma would follow them forever. Rains's betrayal haunted him. He had trusted a colleague, a man he admired, only to discover the depths of his moral compromise. Ward realized that justice wasn't always clean, and sometimes the line between protector and predator blurred so much that the truth became unbearable. As dawn broke over Cold Hollow Prison, a pale light cutting through mist, Ward stepped outside. Axel sat beside him, wet fur matted, eyes alert. Ward looked back at the gates, at the storm-drenched prison that had hidden so many horrors. He whispered softly, more to himself than anyone else. We survived. But the scars, they stay. Axel nudged his hand again, and Ward smiled faintly, a fragile gesture of hope in a nightmarish world. The storm had passed, but the memory of what lay beneath the ground lingered, a haunting reminder that darkness can thrive in the most unexpected places. Yet, even in the shadow of betrayal, there was a flicker of redemption, a choice to act, to protect, to save. Ward knew one thing for certain. Axel would never let him forget the lessons of that night, the cries in the dark, or the betrayal that almost consumed them all. And for now, that was enough.